بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صلوات.
بر محمد والے محمد صلوات. اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد. جب رہا شام کے زندہ سے ہوئے اہل حرم، کیا خوشی ہوتی دوبالا ہوا سادات کا غم. جس کو ارمان رہائی تھا ہوئی وہ بے دم. ایک ننھی سی لحد پر تھا مسلسل ماتم، سن کے فریاد و فغاں سانس رکی جاتی تھی. قبر سے بالی سکینہ کی صدا آتی تھی. وطن جانے والوں مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو. میں کیسے رہوں گی یہاں پر ہے، میں کیسے رہوں گی یہاں پر. یہاں ہے بھلا کون میرا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو. رہا ہو کے گھر جانے والوں مجھے بھی کہیں پر بٹھا لو. شہیدوں کے سر ہیں جہاں پر مجھے بھی وہیں پر سلا دو. میں بابا کے سر سے لپٹ کر سفر کاٹ لوں گی یہ سارا. مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو. نہ یوں چھوڑ کر جاؤ اماں مجھے شامیوں کے سہارے. یتیمی کی ماری ہوئی کو ستایا بہت ظالموں نے. بہت خوف آتا ہے مجھ کو مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو۔ سنا ہے کہ واپس ملے ہیں تمہیں شمر سے میرے گوہر، بھلا کیا کرو گے تم ان کا اگر رہ گئی میں یہاں پر؟ انہیں بھی امانت سمجھ کر یا دفنا دو زندان میں، یا مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو۔ جو پہنچے مدینہ تو اماں پھر رختے مصیبت نہ آئے، سنا اور اکبر کی باتیں سنانے کی نوبت نہ آئے، میری لاش کو دیکھ کر ہی سمجھ لے گی ہر بات صغرا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو۔ یہی سوچ کر زیر تربت تڑپتا ہے دکھیا کا لاشا، مجھے شمر کے شہر میں اب ہمیشہ ہی رہنا پڑے گا، دھڑکتا نہیں پھر بھی اماں یہ دل کانپ جاتا ہے میرا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو۔ یہ حالت تھی ہر ایک قدم پہ مدینے کے رستے میں اکبر، گری تھی جہاں پہ سکینہ تماچے لگے تھے جہاں پہ، وہاں خاک سے قیدیوں کو صدائیں یہ آتی تھی ہر جا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو۔ صلوات۔
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔ ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم، حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير، ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، عن حسين بن علي عليه السلام: على وإن السنة قد أميتت وإن البدعة قد أحييت، إن تطيعوا أمري وتسمعوا قولي أهدكم إلى السبيل الرشاد. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhameen, the graves of the Shahadat, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam, Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of this aza, that He forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhareen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. We've reached our last lecture in this series, and I'd like to take this opportunity to first and foremost thank you all for your kind words, your hospitality, the various messages on Instagram and Facebook that I've received, and those of you that believe me worthy of asking a question too, and I hope that inshallah I was able to give satisfactory answers. And also, I'd also take this opportunity to ask for your forgiveness and apologize if in any way, shape or form, through my words or through my actions, I have offended anyone or hurt anyone's feelings. It's never my intention to offend anyone or hurt anyone's feelings, but rather the matter that we discuss is such that at times it attacks the nafs, and the nafs likes to fight back. But nonetheless, we can sometimes be offended, and if I have offended you in any way, shape or form, I hope that you will find it in your hearts to forgive me and to keep me in your du'as, inshallah, as you will all be in my du'as. Our subject of discussion was on the zahir and the batin of certain actions. Although I hadn't intended on speaking about this, but from the first night, the matter that we spoke about, I thought that we should expand on that further. That when you respect the zahir of something, its batin becomes apparent to you. When you respect the outward of something, then the hidden secret within it is revealed to you. For example, those things that are considered the sha'a'ir of Imam al-Hussein, the alam, the taboot, these things on the zahir are just things that are pieces of cloth around a stick. But because of the nisbah that they have been given towards Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, there is an esoteric batin associated to them. And so when you respect the zahir of it, then that batin also opens itself for you. That hidden meaning, that connection to the divine, that connection to the hujjah of Allah also opens for you. And you're able to then unlock those secrets. The examples we've given you in regards to the Holy Quran, or in regards to the adhan, or in regards to even the time of salah. You know, we have certain narrations from the sixth one which says, "Imtahanu shi'atana 'inda thalath," that test our shi'as at 3 times, or at 3 occasions. 'Inda mawaqit as-salah. The first place is test them at the time of salah. See what our shi'as are doing. Look at what our Shia is doing when the time of salah has come. If he is doing something else, then he is not from amongst those whom we classify as a Shia. For عند مواقيت الصلاة كيف محافظتهم? How is it that they preserve and respect the time of salah? Do they look eagerly towards the time of salah and rush to pray on time? Or are they those whom try and delay till the last moment and then go and pray? See, when you respect the zahir of that time that is the time of God, a time that you must focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you respect the outward of that time, then the inner secrets of that time will be revealed to you. Sayyid Ali Qadi Tabatabai, the great Arif and the teacher of many of our modern day Arafa, he would say that if anyone recites Salah for 40 days on its correct time, every Salah for 40 days at its correct time, and he does not achieve maqamat spiritually, i.e. the curtains are not lifted in front of their eyes, then come and spit on the face of Qadi. It's a big statement from an individual of that level. Hatta Amirul Mu'mineen as well, he says that one who prays his salah for 40 days on time consistently, the abwab, the doors of hikmah will open for him. So when you respect the zahir of something, the outward appearance of something, then the innermost secret that is hidden within that thing will begin to reveal itself for you. And it's multiple things. We can take so many different examples. The zahir of, for example, respect of your parents. Sometimes the Quran uses the most smallest of words, not even the smallest of words, it uses a sound, uff. Says even if your parents, when they become old and they become in a certain way and they say something to you, do not even say uff to them. Do not even make a sound, basically, in displeasure towards them. Now on the zahir, obviously Allah throughout the Holy Quran has placed the respect of the parents and the obedience of the parents on par with his obedience. Everywhere he's told Bani Israel that the covenant I have with you is that you worship me and you respect your parents. On the zahir, you respect your parents, there is a batin that is hidden in that respect of the parents, that is unlocked for you. Ayatollah Baha'uddin, again, one of the Urafa, he said that no one has ever, I've not met a single person who has achieved a maqam in this dunya except that it was as a result of his respect of his parents. And I've not seen anyone that has fallen in this dunya except it was out of disrespect for his parents. So the maqam of the parents, obviously that everybody knows. But the point we're trying to make is that the zahiri, and this is not just for the outward, sorry, not just for when your parents are alive, but also once they have left this world, that the parents still have the power. If a son or a daughter, after their death, does not remember their parents, does not do dua for their parents, does not give sadaqah for their parents, does not, do khairat for their parents, the parents can disown a child from the grave. They can disown their child from the grave, and that child will face eternal damnation. Labi, he was, again, one of the Urafa, and he says that one day I saw this tajir, this merchant in Tehran, extremely rich. Everything he touched, turned to gold. Any business he went into, he just made money from it. So Labi says that I was monitoring him. I'd see him come to the masjid, and I noticed that other than his wajib salah, he wasn't doing anything else. He wasn't sitting there doing big, long zikrs. He wasn't sitting there reciting extra nawafil. He wasn't doing any of this. He was just simply coming and praying and going. So he says, one day I approached him. I said to him that this success you have in this world, what is the cause of it? Do you do any mustahabbat? Do you do extra? He says, no, nothing. Labi says to him that, tell me, are your parents alive? He says, no, my parents have died. He says, so do you visit the grave of your parents? This man says, yes, the grave of my mother, I'm not sure where it is because she died in either childbirth or something, but the grave of my father is known to me. He says that every month, without fail, I go to the grave of my father, and there I recite Quran at the grave of my father and give it as hadiyah, as a gift to my father. Labi said, in my mind, I thought to myself that this man has been given so much in this dunya for visiting the grave of his father once a month. Imagine if he was to go every single week, what Allah would give him. But he says, then I became afraid that I shouldn't say this to him in case it then leads to maybe some corruption in his niyyah. The point being, when you respect the zahir of something, the outward of something, the batin becomes apparent for you and it unleashes itself upon you. Those that killed Imam al-Hussein were those that did not respect the zahir. And thus the batin of the Imam was not made apparent to them, and they were willing to kill the hujjah of Allah. And we said yesterday that Imam al-Hussein, he told us of those zahiri things that were leading to this situation in the letter that he sent to the people of Basra. He says, "Ala wa inna sunnata qad umitat." You should know the first thing is that the sunnah of the Prophet has been killed. وَإِنَّ الْبِدْعَةَ قَدْ أُحْيِيَتْ. And bid'ah, innovation, has become rife, has become commonplace within this world. And I said, we analyze our own lives. Which of the sunnah of the Prophet have we killed in our day-to-day lives? How much of the sunnah of the Prophet have we implemented within our lives? Because we are awaiting an imam as well. How many innovations have we brought that we believe them to be part and parcel of the deen? The discussion we were having during the day at lunch today was this, that sometimes we enforce a cultural perspective of the religion upon our children, which is not what the religion actually says. The religion's boundaries are here and our cultural boundaries are here. And we force our children to dwell within these cultural boundaries. And then we say, why are they fighting us? Why are they rejecting us? Why are they turning against us? Because the religion is extremely wasi'. The religion is extremely accommodating for many different questions, for many different things. But at times, culture restricts it. Some of the examples I can give you in regards to omens that we have. The Holy Quran says, قَالُوا طَاعِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ. Say to them that their omens are from them. Or the hadith says, الطِّيرَةُ الشِّرْكٌ. Omens are shirk. What do I mean by omens? We do all these weird and wonderful things that are not in the deen. We'll say, oh, don't pass me a knife like this. It will cause problems in the house. Or don't move scissors around at night. You know, don't open and close scissors. It's going to cause a fight. Or turn that slipper upside the right way round. It's facing upside down and it's going to cause a bala. Weird and wonderful things. I remember, like, I was recently, last year I was in Pakistan and I was sitting with someone who Zahiran was a spiritual guide for some people. And as he was sitting there, he sort of says to someone, he says, there was a broom that was upside down, like they just put it against the wall. He says, turn that broom the other way around. It makes Allah angry. So I just looked at him, what? Makes Allah angry? He says, oh, that slipper is upside down. Put it the right way. You know Allah gets very angry. You know, don't shake your legs. It makes shaitan happy or makes Allah angry. These things, these omens, they're shirk. We have nothing in the deen about them. But we enforce them as being part and parcel of the deen. That we reduce God to such a thing that God gets angry with a broom upside down. Like, what sort of God is that you believe in? That he gets angry with a broom. That's facing the wrong way around. So these omens, these tir, these are the various bid'at that we have introduced within our deen. That all of a sudden we make them part and parcel of the deen. And then we go and we enforce these cultural ideas upon children that are growing up in a society that tells them to question and to ponder and to find logic behind what it is that they're being told to believe in. And then we say, why is it that they're breaking away? It's because of this. The religion is very vast and very accommodating. But culturally we restrict it, and at times we introduce these bid'ah, these innovations, and we try and make them part and parcel of the deen and the aqidah. Whereas in reality, they're not. And so, when a nation kills the sunnah of the Prophet, and a nation introduces bid'ah, they are now ripe and ready to walk upon the path of killing the hujjah of Allah. But, say the Shahadat, gives them a solution. Says to them, you have done all of this. You are on a path to destruction. But I give you a solution. إن تطيعوا أمري وتسمعوا قولي أهدكم سبيل الرشاد. Says, but if you obey my commands and you listen to what I have to say, أهدكم إلى سبيل الرشاد. I, Hussein, will take you towards the path of rushd. What is rushd? In this lecture, I want to try and understand what is rushd. Rushd means to mature or to grow. In this context, it is a growth, a spiritual growth, a spiritual maturity. If there was someone that grew into an adult, but their head remained the same size as it was when they were a child, you can't refer to that person as Rashid. Because this isn't a continuous, altogether growth of something. Rushd or Rashid is the one who grows in every aspect of himself. A tree that grows and one branch is bigger than the other cannot be called a tree that has done rushd. It may have grown, but it's not done rushd. It's not grown in equal proportions. And so when we come to spiritual rushd, a person that prays namaz but has bad akhlaq, that person is not Rashid. He isn't growing fully in one normal way. Or someone who has good akhlaq in the way that he speaks to people, but he's a miser when it comes to his money, that person is not Rashid. Or recites lovely Quran, but has bad akhlaq or is bad with his family members, bad with his spouse, bad with his children. That person cannot be referred to as Rashid. So rushd is when something grows in unison with everything else. All of the moral characteristics of this individual, both his zahir and his batin, grow in unison towards perfection, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person continually grows. The one that grows in part but does not grow in another part can't be called kamil, cannot be called a person that has achieved kamal. This person cannot be Rashid. So I want to give you 3 ways in this lecture how it is that we can achieve rushd. One of them from the Holy Quran, one of them from the Adiyat, and one of them from the sayings of Ahlul Bayt. The first thing, in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah number 7, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ وَكَرَّحَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الرَّاشِدُونَ. Says, He's talking about those that are Rashid. Says, Allah has endeared the faith to you and has made it pleasant, has made it appealing to you in your heart. And He has made hateful to you unbelief and transgression and disobedience of Him. These individuals are the Rashidun. These individuals are those that mature, are having that equal growth, that maturity of growth. Once again, I'm going to ask the sisters if they would please stop talking. Unfortunately, I can see you as well, which makes it even worse. So I think there may be some new faces today, so you're not maybe used to how I lecture, but inshallah, if you could please control your conversations, I'd very much appreciate it. Please recite salawats. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in Surah Al-Hujurat is saying that the one that is Rashid is an individual who is repulsed by sin and loves that which is good, loves the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He dislikes sin, though that doesn't mean that sometimes he doesn't commit sin. No, sometimes a person may slip up, a person may sin, but at the same time they don't agree with that sin, they don't like that sin. But there are times when a person does the sin so much that they begin to enjoy it. For example, like listening to music. The one that listens to music, first time they may listen to it, it's a bit repulsive. Second time they listen to it, it's repulsive. But they keep on doing it and they eventually begin to enjoy it. And what is worst is when the Shia of Amirul Mu'mineen listens to music. when the Shia of Ali enjoys music, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, من طرب قلبه على حرف من آلات الغناء فكأنما لطم عليا على وجهه. Says the one whose heart becomes happy at the note, the single note of a musical instrument or the singing voice, فكأنما لطم عليا على وجهه. It is as if he has slapped me, Ali, in the face. Allahu Akbar. And for us, music is just commonplace. We will use and listen to music, it's in our cars, it's wherever we go. And then unfortunately, if Maulana sits in the car, then we're like, turn it off, turn it. It was funny, I went to a lecture, reciting somewhere, and I was talking, I talked about music and stuff like this. And then the brother who was dropping me back to my hotel sat in his car. And obviously, one of these fancy Teslas, and at the bottom it's got, what he was last listening to. And it was like Bollywood's greatest hits. SubhanAllah. So unfortunately, we have this disease within us that we claim to love. We claim to be Shia. But yet our actions don't. But there is a stage before when we start loving sin that we're repulsed by it. We don't like it. Don't like lying. We don't like ghiba. We don't like looking towards na-mahram with lustful eyes. But doing it over and over and over, it becomes second nature for that individual. And so then that sin becomes ingrained within them. But the Rashidun are those that they may slip up every now and then, but they feel bad. And so they go to the door of Tawbah, they go to the door of Istighfar and seek forgiveness from Allah, and Allah forgives them over and over. See, an individual, at times in our lives, we become hopeless. Whatever it may be, sins that we may have committed, problems that we're going through, trials in our lives. But there's no space for the follower of Ahlul Bayt to be hopeless. Why? Because sometimes if we understand this one point, then that hopelessness, that ya'as, that despair will never enter into our hearts. That God is so forgiving. Actually, let me give it to you in an example. A lady comes to the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, I have committed such a sin that Allah will not forgive me. Rasulullah says, what is it that you did? She says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a married woman, I committed zina. I committed adultery with someone. I fell pregnant with that child. We realized that I was pregnant. After some time, we tried to kill the fetus. We were successful and we aborted and we killed the fetus. And we didn't know what to do with the fetus. My husband had a vinegar business. So I took this aborted fetus and I threw it into the vinegar vat. The child dissolved. My husband continued to sell that najis vinegar to the people of Medina. Imagine, my husband didn't know. He sold it to all of Medina. Imagine how many sins there are here. The sin of adultery, the sin of abortion, the sin of polluting that vinegar, making it najis, the sin of then that najis vinegar being distributed amongst all of Medina. The Holy Prophet says, yes, you're right. You won't be forgiven. But not for the sins that you have committed. Because you despaired of the mercy of God and said, God won't forgive me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive every single sin that a person commits, regardless of what that sin is. If a person turns back to Allah and turns to Him 100% with all his yaqeen, Allah will forgive him. says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَصْرِفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Tell my servants that have been extravagant with themselves. Look at the wording that Allah uses. He doesn't say tell those sinners. He says, tell my servants that have been extravagant with themselves. لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not despair of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. For Allah will forgive every single one of your sins. إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. And surely He is the one that is oft forgiving and merciful. There is nothing that Allah will not forgive. There is nothing that Allah will push His ibad away from His door. So if I know this merciful Lord that will forgive all of these sinners, that even when Fir'aun was drowning, he called to Musa 12 times, Musa save me, Musa save me. That day when Musa went to the mount, and he spoke to Allah, Allah said to him, Musa, by my majesty and my might, Fir'aun called to you 12 times and you never once helped him. If only he had called to me once, I would have saved him. Imagine that merciful Lord that will forgive even Fir'aun, that will save Fir'aun even from there. So that merciful Lord, when He sends you tests and He sends you trials in your life, it is for a reason. It's not that He hates you. It's not that He wants to punish you. Many a times the trials in our lives are a result of our own misdemeanors. The causes that we have result in effects. And so over time, they come into certain trials. But nonetheless, even in the depth of that trial, Allah is sending that as a refinement of one's character. It's a way of showing that Allah is looking towards you. You know, in the famous story of Layla and Majnun, Nizami's famous poem, Layla and Majnun, many people have written different renditions of that poem. And they've written addendums to it. But ultimately what Nizami was writing about was the connection between Abd and Ma'bud, between Makhluk and Khaliq, between Allah and us. It was metaphoric. Anyway, so in one of the addendums, it says that one day Layla fell ill. And it was announced in all of the kingdom that Layla needs milk to get better. And whoever brings her milk and whoever's glass she chooses to drink from, she will marry that individual. So all of the hopeful and the most eligible bachelors of the town came. And they brought Layla into the town square. They brought her in on a camel, and they placed the camel in the middle of the square. And Layla was on a mahmil in the camel. Everybody lined up with their cups in their hands, hopeful, hoping that she will choose them. All of them, cups in hand, waiting for the curtain to open. When all of a sudden they hear from behind, move out the way, everyone move. Move, I need to get, Layla needs milk, move. They turn around and see crazy Majnun making his way through the crowd. They say to him, wait, you came late, wait at the back. He's like, no, Layla needs milk, move. So he comes to the front, they're like, he's crazy, just let him go, whatever. So he goes and he stands at the front with his glass in his hand, hopeful. The curtain opens and Layla looks over the crowd at all these hopefuls with their milk in hand. She passes her eyes over, and her eyes stop and rest on Majnoon. She reaches down and she picks up the cup of Majnoon. Everyone's in shock. She holds the cup of Majnoon, then she slams it on the ground and smashes it. Everyone begins to laugh. Everyone's laughing at Majnoon. Silly man, did you think that Layla was going to choose you? Over all of these people, she was going to choose a crazy person like you. And Majnoon, he's amongst the people laughing and dancing as well. And they're saying to him, he's really crazy. Why is it that you're so happy? Why is it that you're so ecstatic? She smashed your cup. He says, don't you understand? From all of these thousands of people that were there, she chose my cup to smash. Meaning she noticed me. The trials from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are exactly like this. It is an indication that His eyes are on you and He wants you to refine and grow and develop so that you can achieve maqamat. Because no one has ever achieved anything in this world without going through the crucible of trials. You do not achieve that gym body without putting that body under strain of weights and exercise. Nor do you ever achieve spiritual upliftment without putting your nafs under difficulties. And so when God chooses to place difficulty for you, then He chooses to develop you. But at that time, it becomes difficult that, why me? Why me? But if you can change that mindset for a moment and change it from away from why me to Ya Allah, it's difficult for me, but you help me get through it. He will still raise you. When Ayyub alayhi salam said to Allah, said, Ya Allah, you took away my children, I was patient. You took away my wealth, I was patient. You took away my health, I was patient. Ya Allah, but now the people are saying, maybe Allah doesn't love Ayyub, and that's why He's sending trials to him. Ya Allah, now they're questioning my relationship with you. Now I can't be patient. Ya Allah, remove these trials for me. Allah reveals to him, says Ayyub, what do you mean you were patient? We allowed you to be patient. This is that all-encompassing nature of Allah, that nothing exists outside of Allah. And that's why Imam al-Sajjad in Dua, Abu Hamza Thumali says, Bika araftuka wa anta dalaltani ilayk. That through you I knew you and you gave me evidences towards your existence. This is why Amirul Mu'mineen says in Nahjul Balagha, praise be to that Lord that did tajalli for His makhluk through His makhluk, so that people would know that He exists, gave evidences towards His existence by doing tajalli in His makhluk through everything that is created. So through trials, through difficulties, through problems that we have in our lives, one needs to remember that they're from Allah. And if there is any being that can remove those trials, then it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only Allah. So the first way to reach rushd is when an individual hates sin and is attracted towards good, is attracted towards the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first trait of the Rashid. But alongside that needs to be action. Alongside that needs to be action. It's not just what I conceptualize within my mind, but it's also what I then do with that. If I want to achieve righteousness, it's not that I just have a righteous mindset, but I also must act upon that righteous mindset. Allah in the Holy Quran, He says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ, says that you will not achieve righteousness until you are willing to sacrifice that which you love. When this ayah was revealed, an individual comes to the Holy Prophet, Abu Talha Ansari. He used to have a garden that had a fresh water spring within it. And the Holy Prophet would come and always do wudu there. He loved the garden of Abu Talha, and it was a very sought after garden. As soon as this ayah was revealed, Abu Talha Ansari comes to the Holy Prophet and he says, Ya Rasulullah, this is for you. You choose to do whatever you want with it. Give it to someone who deserves it. Keep it for yourself. The Holy Prophet says, why? He says, the ayah came down, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ, that you will not achieve righteousness until you give in the way of God from that which you love. From that which you love. Someone comes to Abu Dhar, says, Abu Dhar, I need a camel. Abu Dhar says, no problem, the ayah has come down. Go choose whatever you want. This man goes, he doesn't want to impose. So he takes the smallest, weakest, most skinniest camel and he brings it out. Abu Dhar says, why did you choose this? Says Abu Dhar, I thought maybe I should give, the other camels, they will be of use to you. This one is fine, it does the job for me. Abu Dhar says, no. Says, why? He says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ, that you will not achieve righteousness until you give from that which you love. Come with me. And he takes him and finds the most expensive, most sought after camel in the whole herd, and he gives it to him. He says, go, this is for you. I need to be able to sacrifice, to give from that which I love. Because if I don't, then I won't be able to achieve that righteousness. You look at the life of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, how they gave everything. They didn't question. They gave. And that is above that. That is the level of ithar, a level higher. That where one gives from that which they also need themselves. That level of ithar is much higher. We may never be able to achieve that maqam spiritually. To be able to give from that which we love the most. Or that which we need the most. This maqam was reserved for Ahlul Bayt. That Zahra alayha salam gives from the food that she needs after a whole day of fasting, not just for one day, but for 3 days. Her iftar for her family, she gives to the orphan and the prisoner and those that came to her door. This is that level of ithar. The second aspect that helps a person reach rushd is dua. It says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يُرْشَدُونَ. The early Muslims came to the Holy Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, is Allah far away that I need to shout so He hears me? Or is He close that I may whisper? And so this ayah came down. It says, say to my servants, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, when my servants come and ask you about me, tell them, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, I am near to them. And I hear every single time they call out to me. So tell them that they should believe in me and ask of me so that they may be successful. Turning to Allah for every single one of your needs. Every single one of your needs. Allah says to Musa, Musa, even do dua to me. Ask me for the salt that you want to put in your food. Even for the salt that you put in your food. We only think, oh, there's big things, I'll only go to Allah when I can't get it from anyone else. No, the first point of call must be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third way of achieving rushd is through Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Sayyid al-Shuhada is saying, in tuti'u amri wa tasma'u qawli. If you obey my commands, you listen to my words. Ahdikum sabil al-rashad. I'll take you towards rushd. I'll take you towards success. In dua, in ziyarat jami'a kabira, what do we say? Ya Ahl al-Bayt, amrukum rushd. Your commands are that rushd. Your commands are that thing that takes us towards that growth. What is important for us is to realize and ask whether we are obedient to the Imam, whether we are obedient to the Hujjah of Allah, whether he is happy with us or not. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman is one of the companions of the 6th Imam, 7th Imam and 8th Imam. People began to spread rumors about him. People began to spread rumors about him. That Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman is like this, is like this, is like this. One day he comes to visit Imam al-Rada, upset. Says, Ya Rasulullah, the people are saying all of these things about me. They constantly make rumors. They say all of these things. The Imam says to him, as he wants to say something, there's a knock at the door and they say that there's a group of Shi'as here to see you. The Imam says to Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, you go stand behind the curtain in the other room. So he goes into the other room. This group of Shi'as come in, and all of a sudden they start speaking ill of Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman. Imam Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman is like this, he's like this, he's like this, he's like this, he's like this. Then they leave. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman comes into the room, tears in his eyes. Says, Ya Rasulullah, you heard what they're saying about me. The Imam looks at him, he says to him, فَمَا عَلَيْكَ إِذَا كَانَ إِمَامُكَ عَنْكَ رَاضِيًا. Says, what is it to you what they say? Is it not enough for you that your Imam is happy with you? Forget the people, leave the people, forget the opinion of the people. You just work on pleasing your Imam. You just work on doing what is right. Says, and if the Imam is happy with you, then there is nothing in this world that can break you. There is nothing in this world that can ever defeat you. Because even though it may be a Zahiri defeat, there is victory awaiting you. Giving your way for the Imam. Everything that I have, giving it up for the sake of the Imam. 3 ways to achieve rushd. To grow all together, like the Imam is telling us. We should look towards our own lives and think, what sort of growth are we making in our lives? Because when one doesn't do rushd, when one doesn't respect the zahir of something, then as I said yesterday, they will commit huge atrocities. Like we saw in Karbala. And nor will they even respect a 4-year-old girl like the daughter of Abi Abdullah. Tonight we mourn the Shahadat of the daughter of Imam al-Hussein. A daughter that was extremely dear, and I said to you yesterday that she went through many different trials, many problems, many issues within her life. Especially from Karbala to Sham. I don't know when it is that even this daughter of Abi Abdullah drank water. Because on Sham-e-Ghariban, when water was brought to her, they told her, Sakina, here, drink from this water. And she took that glass of water and she ran to where the tents used to be. Said, Sakina, where are you going? She said, Auntie, you said the youngest must drink first. My brother Ali Asghar is still thirsty. and she ran and poured the water on his grave. Or when she reaches Kufa and water is brought to her and the lady says, first do dua for me before you drink this water. Or along the way, they say whenever water was brought, she would run with the water and she would pour it over the chains of Sayyid Sajjad, saying that the chains of my brother are heating under the heat of the sun. At times there is a narration that outside of Sham, water had run out for the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad. And so they'd ordered water to be brought back from Sham. And as the water came, this 4-year-old daughter of Imam al-Hussein was watching. She was watching eagerly, awaiting. Shimr realized that her eyes were on the water. He turns to her, he says, do you want to drink? She says, yes, I'm thirsty. He says, you can only drink after we have drank. Then he gives the water to all his companions. This 4-year-old girl, those of you that have daughters will know, a young child at that age, when you promise them something, the anticipation that grows within them. Here it is something as simple as water. She looks hopefully for that water. As soon as he's given it to all of them, he turns towards her and he pours the water on the earth. This daughter of Imam al-Hussein runs forward. She places her face on the wet earth. Her dhulm increased, the dhulm that they did upon her increased over and over and over until she reaches that prison of Sham. And every day she would ask her auntie, where are these birds going? And she would be told, Sakina, they're returning home. And she would say, auntie, then when will we return to our home? When will we return to Medina? Until that night she saw her father in her dream. Imam al-Hussein says to her, Ilayya, Ilayya, oh Sakina, come to me. She holds on to her father. When she awakens, she realizes Imam al-Hussein is not there. She begins to cry and wail. They say to her, Sakina, you were dreaming. She says, no, my father was just here. I just saw my father. I want my father. The more she cried, the women began to wail. Yazid was informed. He says, take the head of Hussein to the girl. Do not ever think that this was an act of mercy from Yazid. Why would anyone give the severed head of a father to their 4-year-old daughter? They bring the head of Abi Abdullah on a tray, covered in a cloth. They call her forward. She turns to her Aunt Zainab. She says, oh auntie, I don't want to eat. I want my father. They say, Sakina, it's not food. They lift off the cloth. She sees the severed head of her father. She runs forward. She embraces the head of Abi Abdullah. She begins to recite Marthiya. Abata man alladhi aytamani ala saghra sinni. Abata man alladhi qata'a waridayk. Father, tell me who orphaned me at such a young age. Father, tell me who cut the veins of your neck. Father, tell me who covered your face and your beard in your blood. They say she laid down with the head. وَضَعَ فَمَهَا عَلَى فَمِهِ الشَّرِيفِ. She placed her lips on the lips of her father. A voice came from the head. إِلَيَّ إِلَيَّ فَأَنَا لَكَ بِالْإِنْتِظَارِ. Oh my daughter, come to me, come to me, for I have been waiting for you. The narration says, ثُمَّ مَاتَتْ. The girl died. Sajjad comes forward. He sees the head on one side. He sees Sakina on the other. He places his hand on his sister. He calls out, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh Auntie Zainab, my sister has left this world. They call a lady to give ghusl to the body of Sakina. She comes inside, she takes the body. As she's giving ghusl, she comes out of the room. She says, I can't give this girl ghusl, who is the elder amongst you. Zainab alayha salam comes forward. She says, I want to ask you something. Says, what is it? Ask me. She says, this girl, did she suffer from some disease or some illness? Says, why do you say that? She says, her whole body is covered in wounds and bruises. Zainab starts to smack her head. She sits on the earth crying. She says, no, she wasn't ill, but these are the marks of Shamar that he left upon her. لا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون ماتم حسين يا حسين
سکینہ پر یتیمی کے ہوئے مانی آیا بابا سکینہ پر یتیمی کے ہوئے مانی آیا بابا بنا چہرے پہ جب پہلا تماچے کا نشان بابا سکینہ پر یتیمی کے ہوئے مانی آیا بابا میرے چہرے سے مٹ جائیں نشان شاید تماچوں کے نشان شاید تماچوں کے نہیں مٹتا ستم گر کی انگوٹھی کا نشان بابا سکینہ پر یتیمی کے ہوئے مانی آیا بابا فقط دربار میں دیکھا تھا پہلی بار میں نے یہ تھا پہلی بار میں نے یہ کنیزی کے لیے مانگی گئی سیدانیاں بابا سکینہ پر یتیمی کے تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا
زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو، پابند نہ ہوا ہے پابند نہ ہوا ہے، رونے پہ نہ پہرا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو، تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر، تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر، زندہ در زندہ ہے زندہ در زندہ، اس کے لیے قضا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، سب مل کے پڑھیں، تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو، زندانوں سے آتی تھی آواز سکینے کی، زندانوں سے آتی تھی آواز سکینے کی، جیسے کہ سکینہ کو ہے جیسے کہ سکینہ کو ہر زندان رو رہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا، آپ سب جیے یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو، ٹکرائے نہ وہ کیوں کر زندہ کی دیواروں سے، ٹکرائے نہ وہ کیوں کر زندہ کی دیواروں سے، بھائی سے اور پھوپھی سے ہے بھائی سے اور پھوپھی سے، جس کو جدا کیا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ، زندہ میں نہ تنہا، زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ، 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 جس سینے پہ سوتی تھی ہے جس سینے پہ سوتی تھی معصوم سکینہ، زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ، یا وہ سینہ جس سینے پہ سوتی تھی ہے جس سینے پہ سوتی تھی معصوم سکینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو سینہ کر ترس ذرا ظالم بابا کو نہ روؤں گی میں گود میں مادر کی آرام سے سوؤں گی بے رحم لعینوں نے بے رحم لعینوں نے فریاد سنی نا زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ سب مل کے پڑھیں یاد آیا وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو وہ سینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو سینہ ہے موت کی خاموشی تاریخ یہ زندہ میں کیا جرم کیا لوگوں معصوم سی مہمان کوئی اور تو معصوم ہے کوئی اور تو معصوم یوں قید ہوئی نا زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ 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 ہر وقت چمکتا تھا کربل میں مدینے میں تعویذ کی مانند تھا شبیر کے سینے میں گم ہو گیا وہ کیسے ہے گم ہو گیا وہ کیسے زندہ میں سکینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو یاد آیا وہ سینہ 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 زندہ میں سکینہ کو وہ سینہ ہر وقت چمکتا تھا کربل میں مدینے میں تعویذ کی مانند تھا شبیر کے سینے میں گم ہو گیا وہ کیسے ہے گم ہو گیا وہ کیسے زندہ میں نگینہ زندہ میں سکینہ کو
السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا نبی اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا خیر خلق اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا محمد المصطفیٰ، السلام علیکہ یا علی المرتضیٰ، السلام علیکہ یا فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین، السلام علیکہ سبط الحسن والحسین سید شباب اہل الجنہ جمیعا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکہ یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکہ یا ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا ابن امیر المومنین، السلام علیکہ یا ابن فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین، السلام علیکہ یا اخی ابو الفضل العباس ابن امیر المومنین، السلام علیکہ اختک حورہ زینب ام کلثوم جمیعاً شہداء کربلا و اسیران کربلا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکہ یا غریب الغرباء، السلام علیکہ علی ابن موسیٰ رضا، السلام علیکہ اختک فاطمۃ المعصومہ قم جمیعاً ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکہ یا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام علیکہ خلیفۃ الرحمن، السلام علیکہ یا شریک القرآن، السلام علیکہ یا امام الانس والجان، عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسہل اللہ مخرجک، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔